Music is stories.
Music is spirituality.
Music is food for the soul.
Music is rhythm.
Music is peace.
Music is dreaming.
Music is inspiration.
Music is poetry.
Music is memories.
Music is freedom.
Music is communication.
Music is sharing.
Music is love.
Music is everything.
La vie fallait dans les et dans son soleil et dans son soleil et dans son soleil.
When my aunt used to sing this, I used to listen, which simply means that you'll never know my worth until I'm dead and gone. And she would sing this, you know. And today I sing the same song and I remember her. So it's actually provides a platform. It's a wavelength for effective communication between the visible and the invisible. That's what music means to me.
Music plays a major role in everything, you know. So music comes in when children are born, music comes in when children are playing. There's all kinds of songs that are made every year to talk about the harvest, to talk about people, you know. So music is a very important part of our lives and in the education of our people.
See, when we talk about music, you know, it is not just a matter of singing and dancing. You know, our concept of music in the traditional society is quite different from what prevails in the Western society. For us, music is the totality of everything. Everything is in there. Acquisition of language skills, the development of the philosophy of life, the acceptance of the traditional concept of life, the traditional philosophy of life, of your being, you know, as a member and as an integral member of your community. You know, most of these we learn through music and through singing.
Nala se na se bi go tumo na kwaku na da bi we hia we a kwekwe acha kwekwe awo na da bi we hia we Nala se na se bi go tumo na kwaku na da bi we hia we a kwekwe acha kwekwe awo na da bi we hia we kwaku do kwekwe kwekwe awo na da bi we hia we.
We think that there is a wealth of information in African indigenous music which has to be passed on. One of the major problems that we are losing out on indigenous music is the religious and missionary activities that happened during the colonial times. And were colonized by the British. And they made conscious effort because they introduced formal education. And they made conscious effort to introduce European culture. We are so fortunate in Ghana that we have our chieftaincy system. And that chieftaincy system is so strong, and I've been able to maintain some of our indigenous music. And now we do have indigenous music which is still going on. So we have, contemporary musical types going alongside with indigenous musical type. Every ethnic group has its own music. And there are over about 3,000 ethnic groups in Africa. In Ghana, we have 25 major ethnic groups, and every ethnic group has its own musical type.
You see, in our society, we're down to maybe 2% of the population play music, and the rest of us are consumers. We go and watch a show, buy a record, and we don't make music anymore. If you go back 200 years ago in Europe, everybody was singing or playing music. They had to. And we're in that situation still in Ghana, where still people are very musical. Everybody's expected to be able to sing in a church choir or play a drum. And it's not for just a few people in the society. And this is how we've ended up in Europe. Because what we've gone and done is think that the normal society is a society where you have a few specialist musicians who are like virtuosos, and the rest of us just have to sit down and listen to them. And then we come to Africa, where a lot of people play music. Even they're playing music right now outside. In Europe, we've separated music from dance. So if you listen to some music, you don't dance to it. You listen to a classical symphony. You don't move your body. But in Ghana, they've recognized that some of the dance steps actually are part of the music. In most Ghanaian polyrhythmic music, there are certain beats which are not played by any drums. They're performed by the dancer's feet. But if you don't know that dancing movement, you can never follow the rhythm, because it's an invisible rhythm that holds the music together as a gestalt. But the gestalt is somebody moving, or you moving. Or if you're not moving, it's in the imagination of that movement. So it's a very holistic attitude towards music and body movement.
Then no ma, to da palm to yabdu san. Kat yabdu ma da zang la wote. To demen no ma to mi gba ya gbargar ma. To yene to zang la wote bi homa. Zo kat zang la wote ba ma. Hal orana pang gba kan nang la ni ma tu. Sa ti yina kan kpoben yarma an solo. Ti biedane. On wara kan kana ta wuro wamungo. Sa ogbana ntu li tanda ba ma tan warshama agbadwele.
There's a whole reason why it's called a universal language. It can draw on common emotional centers which are pre-conscious. It's the part of the brain which comes before logical thought. Therefore, it can link up with other people at a non-logical way. It can also use logic. You can add words and so on. But at a certain level, music reaches between peoples and between ethnic groups or cultures.
I want to see you, my father. I want to see you, my father. I want to see you, my father. Yeah, baba. Wana. Sanga wana tolga. Wana ndo matenena. Kai. Sing it now. Bata Zoe. I want to see you, my father. I want to see you, my father. I want to see you, my father.
If you look at the transmission of traditional music or traditional art forms, it's been mainly through oral tradition, you know, and which means that somebody has to teach somebody, and that somebody also has to teach somebody, and that somebody must have, you know, effective memory to be able to remember, you know, whatever is being taught, you know, to be able to transmit that from generation to generation. The education does not always prevail in the classroom. So our institutionalized approach to education, you know, it's foreign. It's foreign to our culture, because for us, education starts right from birth, you know, and the acquisition of artistic knowledge starts from birth. The music in our education and all of that are elements, important ingredients that provide a child the opportunity to develop holistically, you know, and to develop those philosophies of life, to develop an understanding of himself as an integral member of the community in which he lives or she lives.
my course in it. There were Avignon was on. You could in an Changwan, I want to do my Chantawa. And you told us all Bandalema. My Italaka yard in the wa, and your co or Zondo Tava, Bamboo Hampos or Cabato water. Torsa Abigitema, Government in my Chentone. Kitty Calma de P. Didn't chat a child be my parties or one.
Kente fra fatana nenya mena diata ya mumyes aye wayo koma fa prenu mi wan mewo ananu kente fra fatana nenya mena diata ya mumyes aye kente fra fatana nenya mena diata ya mumyes ananu kente fra fatana nenya mena diata ya mumyes
I'll say this in Twi and explain it in English and use it because so be ira. If you are not one found Twi and as will be nafa. If you realize there's something missing in your house or in your room, it's either you misplaced it or somebody has taken it. Now, what do I mean by this? We were born with our own cultural heritage. Now, it looks as if influences from the West and change, like urban exodus, people leaving villages for towns, these things have contributed a lot to loss of some of the values. So it looks as if we have thrown this away.
Implementation of what? Approval from Parliament. When Parliament what? Approve the budget, then it is the duty of the...
I'm worried because we are facing a situation where, you know, the formal education is becoming overemphasized, you know, to the point that informal education is really facing a lot of challenges of survival. In the past, children would sit around it and the elders would tell them stories. In those stories are embedded, you know, all the values of life, all the morals and what have you, which is part of the education, you know, but those don't exist anymore. And we have not really been able to document sufficiently these traditional, you know, practices so that in future there can be some point of reference by those who will come after us.
Music is an intellectual toner. Music has the automatic ability to pick up from the emotional centers. Therefore, if you can turn things into music, it sticks. If you put things into either poetic, rhythm, or music, you can memorize things, right?
It helps. It helps. Apart from the fact that it calms tensions down, it also helps the child to also remember certain things he has learned and also to reduce tension. It helps us, the child, to also not forget about his culture. Because if you forget about your culture, you've forgotten about where you come from. When you come to the Volta regions of Ghana, they do the agbaja. And normally, the agbaja is done by your legs. You kneel down for a while, then you keep your straight back, then you start moving forward and backwards, whilst your hands are swinging forward and backwards. That's the agbaja. Normally, this is the way it goes.
We need to revive our indigenous music by placing them in the academy, by placing them in the university, by making it, as an integral part of the curriculum so that we can perpetuate it.
We must start encouraging our children from the time they are very, very, very young. Sing to them. Encourage them to be near old men and women whom I call libraries on fire, because they are passing away. To understand drum language, to learn to sing our songs, to learn to speak in proverbs. Let our children know these things because they are our values. These are the things that define us among other peoples in the world.
I wouldn't say that traditional music is disappearing. Africa was always on the move. Before the Europeans came, there were mighty empires, there were trading routes. The African societies were affecting each other and creating new types of music before the Europeans came. So that it wasn't the Europeans that created musical change. It's not a sort of a static repository of music that's evaporating over time. It's all the time being recycled.
I think the survival of traditional music also depends on how this music is used. It will definitely change in course of time. I'm very sure that what our ancestors used to do, if some of them should come back today and see us trying to do the same thing, they will flip over and die again. The arts are dynamic, our lives are dynamic, so we're going through changes. We're going through change all the time. So traditional music also suddenly must go through change.
To really keep our music traditions alive in no matter what shape or form, it needs an approach where musicians are working with civil servants and politicians and teachers. Everybody is working together to make this work. Luckily, Ghanaians like Ghanaian music. So I don't believe that the future of traditional music in Africa is bleak. No. I believe that as more countries get involved in this kind of thing by getting younger people to rather create music with what we have, that our traditional music will still live in another form, but will still be alive.